Man, we got a lot going on today. It's like they're just stacks upon stacks. I think I didn't even roll up my sleeves yet, but I need to because we've got, holy cow, we got Kash Patel and Dan Bongino finding evidence that was just left by James Comey, just underneath his desk, hidden evidence. What's going on with that? We've got Lily Tang Williams from New Hampshire who's running for Congress again. We hope she wins this time, and we're going to try to help her in any way that we can. We've got Lily Tang Williams on the show today. We've got a press briefing from Caroline Levitt in just a minute, and we're going to want to listen in on that because Donald Trump is going nuclear on these courts, and everybody in the Republican Party just about is fed up with these activist judges trying to undo all of Donald Trump's executive orders, all of Donald Trump's mandates. Now they're tackling his tariff policy, and they're saying we don't think Donald Trump should be able to levy tariffs on our enemies. We don't think Donald Trump should be able to use the power that, he has granted to him by the Constitution to help fight unfair trade agreements. We don't like any of that. First, it was the turn the planes around. Then it was the can't deport people based on the Alien Enemies Act. It's just constant with these judges, and the judiciary is really, what we saw in the first Donald Trump administration was we saw the Democrat Party show their true colors, show what they really were, show what they really stood for, which was just embarrassing. And then we saw the House of Representatives again under the auspices of the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi just totally bastardize the Constitution and abuse the privilege that they have, or the constitutional right that they have to impeach any president who is found guilty of or is suspected of high crimes and misdemeanors. They just abuse it because they didn't like the guy. They were like, we really don't like Donald Trump, but he was elected, so let's just impeach him. What do we impeach him for? I don't know. We'll make some crap up. Well, won't we get busted? Sure. But you know what? We'll censure Adam Schiff. Then he'll become a senator, and all's well that ends well. So now we're starting to see, because that failed and because the Democrats no longer have control of the House of Representatives, knock on wood, now we see the judiciary coming out and showing their true colors and just abandoning their constitutional rights and their constitutional duties. And they're just trying to usurp. They're trying to one-up President Donald Trump and his entire executive branch. We're going to get to all that here in just a minute. And I'm really excited about Lily Tang Williams because she is, like me, a refugee from a communist country. She is, like me, somebody who escaped at a young age a dictatorial, tyrannical regime. She came from communist China. I came from communist Canada. Similar but different. I was a little closer. It was a little shorter trip for me. And now we're both very concerned about what's going on with our Congress, the lack of accountability, the lack of action, the wasted time and money, the wasted opportunity, if you will, that we have with our Congress, especially with these DOJ cuts, which have not been codified. And yes, there's supposedly a rescission agreement, blah, 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 blah. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm at the point now where I will believe it when I see it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I spent all morning investigating on Grok. Here's what I do now. Now when I want to investigate something or when I want to get some information about something, I go to ChatGPT and I go to Grok. And I have full-on conversations. In fact, I'm sure this happens. I'm sure this happens, right? But I want to make sure that if it's available now, I want it where I can just talk to Grok and be like, "Hey Grok, blah 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 blah," and then Grok talks back and tells me everything. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. That day will come. But I was investigating Congress and congressmen and just how pathetic this last Congress is. The lack of the apathy, the lack of action, the lethargy. I mean, it has been the slowest moving ever since Mike Johnson and John Thune got in charge of the place. It's just moved at a snail's pace. It's really, really bad. Anyway, we'll get to all that. There's plenty of time to get to all of that. But first, I want to get to Dan Bongino, who returned to Fox News, which is really exciting because Fox News fired him. You may remember that Fox News fired Dan Bongino. He was one of my favorite parts of Fox News. I never listened to his radio show because, I was on the radio at the same time. But he was on Fox News. He'd always go head to head with Geraldo Rivera. It was always very exciting. It was very interesting to watch. He was back on Fox News, on Fox and Friends, and he was talking about, of course, the FBI, how their plan to try to regain the public's trust, the Epstein files, and James Comey.
So the moment Cash and I swore in, we realized that the first thing we had to do is rebuild public trust. This is your FBI. It's not mine. I tell the employees every day, you don't own it, you don't own it, I don't own it. It's like being the center fielder for the Yankees. That'll live with you forever, but you don't own the Yankees. It's a proud franchise. The place has taken a reputational hit. There is zero question about it. There were a lot of bad actors. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. So we had to fix it and rebuild public trust. One of the ways to do it is these cases of significant public interest that matter. You know, we had 2 pipe bombs planted on January 6th. I mean, we were told by partisan actors out there this was the insurrection, the world was going to fall apart, and no one seemed to show any interest in this case. The second we got in, I put a team on it, and I said, I want answers on this. And I'm pretty confident that we're closing in on some suspects. The reason, by the way, I use social media with these cases, I'm trying to communicate on social media, is nothing's by accident, guys. I do nothing by accident. Every time I put a tweet out on it, we get tips. We got a fascinating tip on one of these cases, one of the 3. I don't want to say which one, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to close out one of them, hopefully shortly. And in the cocaine in the White House, you know, I saw someone on social media, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. We work for you, but said, I don't care about the case. Yeah, I do. I was a Secret Service agent. A potentially hazardous material made its way into the White House. Nobody seems to know how it got there, and nobody seemed to investigate it fully. Like, you know, what planet do we live on where that's not of public interest? So,
yeah, that's Dan Bongino saying, look, I use social media, and he's got a lot of followers on social media, to get tips, to get information, to try to get to the bottom of these things, like the pipe bombers. Why do we not have any information about the pipe bombers and the cocaine in the White House? And the interesting thing about the cocaine in the White House is he's absolutely right. He's 100% accurate about this. Cocaine is an illegal substance. It made its way into the White House in trace amounts. That's a problem, because next time, maybe it's not cocaine. Maybe next time it's anthrax. Maybe next time it's some other deadly substance. Maybe next time it's some kind of explosive that makes its way into the White House. If you can get cocaine into the White House, you can get something even more harmful. If you can get cocaine into the White House, you can get something deadly. And that is something that Dan Bongino wants to know how it happened, who got it in there, and how do we stop it from getting in there again. But then he was asked, or they talked a little bit about the Epstein files and Comey and what was and what wasn't. And listen to what Dan Bongino said about the evidence they're finding, hidden evidence that nobody knew about, that James Comey just stashed to keep out of the public eye, that's now being uncovered by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the FBI.
Wait till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there, and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records. We found it in bags hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. Quickly, you're going to be stunned.
The shells.
Yeah. So once you read it, you're going to be stunned. By the way, look at Brian Kilmeade's just like kicked back. Like, Brian Kilmeade totally does not seem interested in this conversation at all. Or maybe he just doesn't believe it. And look, there are naysayers who are like, what about the Epstein files? We've been waiting for the Epstein files. Yeah. Now you're finding more stuff, but we still don't know about the regular stuff. We don't know about the Epstein files. We don't have everything declassified that we want declassified. You declassified all that JFK stuff, but you know, it didn't really do us any good, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of it. Why can't you just tell us now? And Dan Bongino is saying, look, it's not just ours to tell. There's bureaus and departments, and everybody's got a say in this thing. The president has to probably take a look at some things. It's a process. It takes a while, but please know that we are doing whatever we can to make it happen as quickly as possible. Now, Kash Patel is over talking to Here we go. Kash Patel is over talking to he's over talking to Brett Baer, and he's talking about the January 6th situation. He's talking about the pipe bombs. He's talking about the Epstein files, and he's saying, "Look, trust me on this. There is information coming out, and we will get it out as quickly as possible."
But more importantly, people have had questions about January 6th and whether or not there were FBI sources, not agents, sources on the ground during January 6th. And I told you I would get you the definitive answer to that, and we have. And we are in the process, again, of working with our partners to divulge that information, and it is coming. I will tell you this.
And that is something that people have speculated about for a long time, that there were operatives on the ground. There's also Epstein, which is, again, an ongoing saga. Pam Bondi said she had the Epstein files. They were on her desk. They weren't released. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino said they saw the files and that Jeffrey Epstein definitely killed himself. And there's still a lot of questions surrounding that. It looks, however, like Caroline Leavitt is coming out. So let's flip to her quickly.
The Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach.
I don't know
Using
why.
his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal
Hang on, I got it.
on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods.
I don't know why she's doubling up.
The United States has run a trade deficit of goods every year.
I think that may be her.
In 2024, our trade deficit in goods exceeded $1 trillion. Everybody agrees this is unacceptable. President Trump is delivering on his promise to fix this problem.
Hang on, let me reload.
He has taken a long overdue and much needed bold stance for American workers.
Oh, no, wait, I do have it open twice.
Our manufacturing base being hollowed out. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense.
I got it.
President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, have our own secure critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries. 3 judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him. These judges failed to acknowledge that the President of the United States has core foreign affairs powers and authority given to him by Congress to protect the United States economy and national security. Congress had created the National Emergency Act to provide the congressional framework to strike down improper IEEPA use, and any questions over whether President Trump improperly imposed these IEEPA tariffs were already adjudicated in Congress following Liberation Day. Congress firmly rejected an effort led by Senator Rand Paul and Democrats to terminate the president's reciprocal tariffs. The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges. President Trump is in the process of rebalancing America's trading agreements with the entire world, bringing tens of billions of dollars in tariff revenues to our country, and finally ending the United States of America from being ripped off. These judges are threatening to undermine the credibility of the United States on the world stage. The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country. With Congress returning next week, it's critical that Senate Republicans maintain the momentum and quickly pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill will truly make America safe and prosperous. The One Big Beautiful Bill includes the largest border security investment ever. That's why the law enforcement groups are lining up to encourage its swift passage. The National Fraternal Order of Police, the largest police union in the country, just endorsed key provisions of the bill. The FOP president announced their strong support, saying the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is more than legislation. It is a promise kept to the public safety officers across the country and a bold step toward an economy that respects, rewards, and uplifts the people who keep it safe. And the National Border Patrol Council, which represents nearly 20,000 Border Patrol agents, hailed the legislation as well. The group's president said this legislation provides a once-in-a-generation investment in the border security of our great country and will make America safer. The One Big Beautiful Bill will guarantee we can permanently have the safest, strongest, and most secure immigration system in American history. I also want to take the opportunity to debunk some false claims that have been circulating in the press about this bill. The blatantly wrong claim that the One Big Beautiful Bill increases the deficit is based on the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers who use shoddy assumptions and have historically been terrible at forecasting across Democrat and Republican administrations alike. For example, just before Congress enacted the original Trump tax cuts at the end of 2017, the same CBO projected that growth would average a mere 1.9% over the next 10 years. However, by 2019, actual growth had surged to 3.4% once the Trump tax cuts went into effect, exceeding the CBO forecast by nearly 2 full percentage points. The CBO's latest forecast makes the same anemic growth assumptions as they did in 2017, missing the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The CBO assumes long-term GDP growth of an anemic 1.8%, and that is absurd. The American economy is going to boom like never before after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed. The largest middle-class tax cut in history, massive deregulation, and the most aggressive domestic energy exploration ever will fuel small businesses, further boost private investment, increase workers' wages, and supercharge economic growth. The Council of Economic Advisors has factored in the effects of all these pro-growth policies and estimated in their own analysis that growth will average 3% in the long run after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed, which is nearly double the ridiculous CBO projection. This higher growth would result in $4.1 trillion in additional revenue over the next 10 years. Between the common sense spending reforms contained in the One Big Beautiful Bill and the robust economic growth that will be generated as a result of it, there will be no increase to the deficit. The same analysis from the CEA shows just how this historic package will unleash prosperity and ignite a blue-collar boom across America. But if the radical Democrats get their way and the One Big Beautiful Bill does not pass, Americans will face a whopping $4 trillion tax hike. This is unacceptable to President Trump. President Trump will not allow Democrats to massively raise Americans' taxes. Senate Republicans must get this bill passed. The failure is not an option. The American people are counting on Republicans to deliver. In other news, despite all the doom casting from the media, Americans are growing more and more optimistic about the economy under this president. Consumer confidence surged in May with the biggest monthly jump in 4 years, smashing expectations. According to the release from the Consumer Confidence Index, the increase in confidence was broad-based across all age groups, income groups, and political affiliations. Our country is clearly heading in the right direction under President Trump's bold leadership. For the first time in history of Rasmussen polling, a majority of Americans believe the country is on the right track. It's unsurprising because the president is fulfilling the promises he made to the American people. Here in our new media seat today, we have the editor-in-chief of The Federalist, Molly Hemingway. The Federalist is led by Molly and Sean Davis and provides fearless journalism and coverage of politics and culture to millions of readers all over the world. Thank you for being here, Molly, and why don't you please kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In the first Trump administration, there was an effort to stymie the agenda of Trump through the Russia collusion hoax perpetuated by many people in the media, including some people seated here, or the media outlets they represent, and other Democrats as well. The second Trump administration, to reference what you said at the beginning, seems to be subject to an effort to stymie the agenda using rogue lower court judges. You mentioned that the Supreme Court could and should do something to rein in these lower court judges. Also, Congress could do something about it, but they don't seem terribly interested in it. It also seems there's not much of an actual coordinated effort from this White House to take and tackle this effort from judges, Democrats and other people using these judges to stymie the agenda. Is there an actual effort by this White House to tackle this issue in a comprehensive way, and if so, what is it?
There is an effort by this administration to tackle these rogue judges and the injunctions and the blockades that we have faced in our broken judicial system in every case. I mean, we have seen time and time again these lower district court judges ruling against this administration in the president's basic executive authority and powers. And this administration is fighting every single one of those battles in court, including already the block that came down from the tariff court, the IEPA court last night. And as on my way out here to the briefing room, I understand that there was another district court judge right here in Washington, D.C. who ruled against the president's tariff power. And I will get to the heart of your question, and I'm glad that we are addressing this in the room today, because nationwide injunctions ordered against the first Trump administration Trump 1.0, account for more than half of the injunctions issued in this country since 1963. And President Trump had more injunctions in one full month of office in February than Joe Biden had in 3 years. And let me roll through some of these radical injunctions to paint the picture for the American people at home. These are not just talking points. These are real judges in the court of law who are trying to block the president's power and the policies that he was elected to enact. For example, a court ordered the Trump administration to return already deported terrorist aliens back to the United States. A court has ruled the Trump administration can't even temporarily pause our refugee programs. Courts prohibited the Trump administration from eliminating federal funding for child transgender surgery and mutilation, a practice that the American people overwhelmingly reject. A court also held that the Trump administration could not ban people experiencing gender dysphoria or mental health issues from serving in the military. Ridiculous. Courts prohibited the removal of transgender women from women's prisons despite potential physical harm to real women in those prisons, biological women. A Northern District of California judge issued an absurd ruling that the president cannot fire people within the executive branch without Congress passing a bill, even though Congress has expressly authorized the president through the Office of Personnel Management to authorize reductions in force across agencies. A court also ordered the Trump administration to rehire thousands of already fired employees in several cases. A federal judge blocked the Trump administration from defunding the Department of Education, another signature campaign promise that this president has the power to implement. Courts ordered the Trump administration could not eliminate funding for illegal DEI programs, hence the word illegal. These are illegal programs to begin with, and now the courts are trying to say this president can't roll them back. And a district court judge prohibited the president from issuing any categorical funding freezes. And then another court ordered on top of that the administration makes $2 billion of payments in 36 hours. These are just a few of the ridiculous orders that we have seen from lower district court judges every day, and we hope that the Supreme Court will weigh in and rein them in.
But White House advisor Stephen Miller says it's judicial tyranny. Some people are calling it a judicial coup. You're saying you're responding to each and every one of these actions, efforts by these judges to delay or thwart the implementation of the agenda. But is there going to be anything more than that, or is it just going to let this operation continue, even though it could delay everything for years until the presidency is over?
The administration is operating under the directive given to from the president that we need to comply with the court's orders. He's made that very clear, but we're going to fight them in court, and we're going to win on the merits of these cases because we know we are acting within the president's legal and executive authorities. And thanks for being here.
It's a good point from Molly Hemingway, by the way, to say.
Actually, some foreign policy news, some breaking news, some local Israeli media.
All right, a very interesting question from Molly Hemingway about what we were just talking about, which is the judicial coup, which is it's judicial coup, it's judicial tyranny, it's whatever you want to call it. It is judges taking the law into their own hands. The Democrats, it's their last ditch effort. They have no control in the Congress. They have no control in the Senate. They have no control in the White House. So they go out and they judge shop and they try to find these activist judges who are faithful to the cause and who will rule against President Donald Trump. But Molly Hemingway, and look, Caroline Leavitt says the president told us we're going to fight it in court. The president said we are going to uphold whatever these judges say. We are going to listen to their rulings and we're not going to go against them. We're not going to ignore them, but we're going to fight them in court. Molly Hemingway's like, look, lady, that's going to take a long time. And the president doesn't have that long. The president has 4 years. The midterms are in 2026, less than 2 years. And if the Democrats win the House of Representatives, it's all bets are off. It's an impeachment every day. And that is a real that's a real concern for this president. It's a real concern, should be, for this country. And so Molly Hemingway's like, can we not do something? Is there no nuclear option to just stop all these things in their tracks? Can Congress not act, or are they not willing to act? Can the White House not do anything? Can the Supreme Court not step in and say, please, for the love of God, let the president be the president, and you guys need to simmer down? Right now, it seems like that's not the case, and that Donald Trump and his administration and their advisors or whoever's in charge are saying, we are going to do this case by case. When a ruling comes down, we're going to appeal. When a ruling comes down, we're going to fight it in court. And that may be slow, but that's the way we're going to go. I agree with Molly Hemingway. I'm like, let's just knock it all out.
The ones who are shaping policy Does the president wish he would have just become a judge instead?
I think the president would take this job over being a judge, and certainly the president is acting within his authority. He wishes judges would do the same.
Peter
So
Doocy.
the courts are basically telling you guys they think that the White House's policies, the president's policies, are in some way against the law. So why can't President Trump ask the Republicans that control the House and the Republicans that control the Senate just to make a new law?
That's a great question.
Well, these laws have already been granted to the president by the Constitution and by laws that have been previously passed. I'll give you another example. For instance, we've been blocked in court for the revocation of visas from individuals who have the privilege of studying in the United States of America. Secretary of State Rubio has simply used his authority to revoke those visas, to revoke that privilege, and we've seen the courts try to block that. So if these judges want to be the Secretary of State or they want to be the president, they can run for office themselves. It should be the other way around. But all of the actions the president has taken rely on legal authorities that have already been granted to him by our nation's existing laws.
And on a different topic, there are some folks in President Biden's inner circle who are now in talks with Republicans in Congress to give interviews about how they may have handled President Biden's decline. Is the president satisfied with aides only sitting for these transcribed interviews, or would he also like to see some kind of testimony from the former First Lady, Dr. Biden?
I think, frankly, the former First Lady should certainly speak up about what she saw in regards to her husband and when she saw it and what she knew, because I think anybody looking, again, at the videos and photo evidence of Joe Biden with your own eyes and a little bit of common sense can see this was a clear cover-up. And Jill Biden was certainly complicit in that cover-up. There's documentation, video evidence of her clearly shielding her husband away from the cameras. They were just on The View last week. She was saying everything is fine. She's still lying to the American people. She still thinks the American public are so stupid that they're going to believe her lies. And frankly, it's insulting, and she needs to answer for it.
Burn.
Caroline, President Trump was asked what he thought about Elon Musk's claim that the big, beautiful bill increases the budget deficit.
Oh, I have that, by the way. That happened yesterday in the White House, in the Oval Office.
Didn't actually comment on those remarks. He just talked about the need to support the bill. So what does the president think about what Elon Musk said?
Well, the president is very proud of the one big beautiful bill, and he wants to see it pass. He wants the Senate to get to work on it and send it to his desk as quickly as possible. Of course, as you know, Elon Musk announced last night his departure as an official special government employee from the Trump administration. We thank him for his service. We thank him for getting Doge off of the ground, and the efforts to cut waste, fraud, and abuse will continue.
Except not in the House of Representatives, obviously.
Musk saying it adds to the deficit and it undermines all his work?
The president commented on this. I commented on it. I told you that this bill saves $1.6 trillion according to the Council of Economic Advisors and the analyses that the president believes in. So he gave a comment. I gave a comment. Just because you don't like that comment doesn't mean it's not a comment.
I love when she gets patronizing. Just because you don't like it.
I know you said the White House is going to fight this ruling in court. Is the administration actively reviewing other avenues, other options to carry out the president's trade policy?
The president's trade policy will continue. We will comply with the court orders, but yes, the president has other
options. Yeah. Okay. So, we've got to get to Lily Tang Williams here in just a minute. So I don't want to waste too much time listening to these reporters ask the same question over and over and over again, which is exactly what happens. They don't like the answer that Caroline Leavitt gives. They don't like the answer that the president gives. So they then ask it again and again and again. And they're like, well, wait a minute. I'm going to keep asking until I get the answer that I want. But that's not the way it works. The question that we're talking about yesterday, however, with the president in the Oval Office about Elon Musk was this.
Musk in a television interview criticized the one big, beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed it didn't cut enough, essentially, that it undercut the Doge efforts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the reaction's a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting. We need to get a lot of support. And we have a lot of support. We had to get it through the House. The House was, we have no Democrats. If it's up to the Democrats, they'll take the 65% increase. If that doesn't get approved, this country is going to have a 65% increase in taxes and lots of other problems, big problems, almost bigger than that. But we'll have a 65% increase as opposed to the largest tax cut in the history of our country. we will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill, but the beautiful is because of all of the things we have. The biggest thing being, I would say, the level of tax cutting that we're going to be doing. We're going to make people really be able to, we'll have the lowest tax rate we've ever had in the history of our country, and tremendous amounts of benefit are going to the middle income people of our country, low and middle income people of our country. So we're going to see what happens, because the Senate, as you know, is negotiating with us, and they have to then go back to the House, and, you know, it's got a way to go. But I have to say, Speaker Johnson and Thune have done an incredible job.
Okay, well, that's where he loses me. that's where I love President Donald Trump. I love his agenda, but he loses me on Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done a tremendous job. I don't see it, but again, I'm not on the inside. There is one thing in the big beautiful bill that I keep coming back to, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. And I think that if more people talked about it, it would be more palatable to more people. And it's this whole idea of the Trump account. The Trump account, and I want to bring it up here because I want to read this to you again. This is even better than I originally reported on. I thought it was good, but when I really delved into it and when I really saw what the Trump account does for these children and for retirement and for the United States of America and for our economy, I realized, holy shnikes, this Trump account thing is amazing. The Trump account would do two things. First, children across America would experience the miracle of compounded growth. A child born this year gets an initial $1,000 investment plus $5,000 invested annually, would, at a historical average growth of 7%, have about $170,000 invested by age 18. Imagine that. You're born, the government gives you a little bit of money, and by the time you're 18, it's up to $170,000. By 35, the account would be worth $700,000. That's growth. That's wealth accumulation. It's utterly transformational for the next generation of children. And think about it, retirement age. Think about it, every child would also now be a shareholder in America's major business. All of us have seen the sad statistics about how many young people distrust capitalism or support socialism. This policy would create a whole generation of capitalists. When a teenager opens her app and sees her investment account, she would see that she owns, say, $50 in Apple, $75 in Boeing, and $35 in McDonald's. Those wouldn't simply be big, scary corporations. She'd be one of the owners. Think about this. It does a third thing, too. But yes, it does help accumulate wealth for our young people so that they're not reliant on the government forever, which I think is why some people don't really like it. It also, not only does it accumulate wealth for young people, but it does teach them about capitalism. And it also invests money, taxpayer dollars, into our industries. It doesn't just allow taxpayers to subsidize, the elderly or pay out of pocket. It's an investment in America. So the money that you would usually just give to the government that they would give out to other people, now you're giving to the government. They're investing in business. They're growing that capital, and it goes back to the people. It's the privatization of Social Security in a way better way, and in a way that is, I believe, more palatable because they've called it a Trump investment account given to newborn children. That to me is transformational. That one thing right there transforms our entire economy, our entire country, our entire future. It protects Social Security by getting rid of it, basically, or supplementing it. You won't need to pay into Social Security if you have this Trump account compounding interest for you over and over and over again for what seems like forever. I just think that not a lot of people know about it. I don't know why they're not popular or publicizing it even more. I think if they did, it would be even more powerful. And I think more people would be excited about the big, beautiful bill, despite the discrepancies in the spending, despite what the Congressional Budget Office and everyone else is telling you about the deficit. I think that it would be something that more people would look at and really try to understand. Let's listen into one more question, and then we're going to jump to Lily Tang Williams.
In Gaza on Tuesday during the rollout of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution of aid to Palestinians there. And should there be a ceasefire, will this administration continue to rely on this foundation for the distribution of aid to civilians?
Are you referring, what incident are you referring to?
Tuesday,
when the aid was rolled out to Gaza for the first time in many months, and meals and food was given to hungry people thanks to President Trump. Yes, we were briefed on that plan. The president was the reason that that aid went into Gaza, and he got the Israelis to support that plan. And I would add that the previous administration rejected such a plan to ensure that these starving and devastated people in the Gaza Strip were given humanitarian aid and assistance. And it was the previous administration that tried to build this pier, if you all remember it. It was brought to my attention this morning, and I thought that's a good point. Why don't I bring that up? Because there's been so much criticism. In fact, it was on the front page of a newspaper this morning about the criticism for this president having a humanitarian heart and giving people badly needed food and supplies. Nobody wanted to talk about how the previous administration failed in that endeavor. They built this pier that cost $230 million. It lasted about 20 days, and more than 60 U.S. service members were injured, as a part of this floating aid pier that did nothing for the people of Gaza. The president is opening up his humanitarian heart to get aid into the region while his team simultaneously negotiates a ceasefire and the return of all hostages. We are moving the ball forward in a positive direction for all people. The president wants to see peace for all people. Jasmine.
So good at that.
A notice investigation found that the Hallmark Maha Commission report that was released last week cites studies that appear to not exist. We know that because in part we reached out to some of the listed authors who said that they didn't write the studies cited. So I want to ask, does the White House have confidence that the information coming from HHS can be trusted?
Yes, we have complete confidence in Secretary Kennedy and his team at HHS. I understand there were some formatting issues with the Maha report that are being addressed, and the report will be updated, but it does not negate the substance of the report, which, as you know, is one of the most transformative health reports that has ever been released by the federal government and is backed on good science that has never been recognized by the federal government.
Follow-up, can you talk about what tools or research goes into production of these kinds of reports? For instance, is it AI that's used to...
Blah, 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 blah. All right, listen, Caroline Leavitt, she's handling the press. She's doing a great job, as she always does. And Caroline Leavitt, you may remember, is from New Hampshire and ran for Congress and would have been one of the youngest, or if not the youngest, Congress people ever to serve had she won. She did not, however, because New Hampshire is still kind of a purple state. It leans blue, but it's really purple. I believe one day it could be red. And our next guest is one of the reasons why I believe that. Talk to my next guest for a couple reasons. I've always wanted to talk to her since she went viral. She's super conservative. We're both from communist countries. You know, we're both immigrants who escaped communist countries. And this is a first for me. I've interviewed a lot of people. Never before did anybody write to me and say, hey, what are you wearing on the interview? I want to make sure that we're color coordinated. Until today, please welcome from New Hampshire's 2nd District, Lily Tang Williams. Hi, Lily. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to meet you. That my husband always tells me that what color should I wear? So I'm a very color conscious to look good, to have a visual, pleasure for people to look at us.
Yeah, no, you would look. Hopefully, yeah, you got the pink, I got the light blue. I think we look great together. That looks amazing. Lily Tang Williams is. I mean, a lot of people know who you are because. Well, here, let me play the clip. You went viral a couple of times. The first one was when you ran for Congress. This was in 2024, correct?
Right.
And this was against a woman named Maggie Goodlander, who is actually she won the election, unfortunately. And I just found out from you is Jake Sullivan's wife. I had no idea.
Well, I think that she did that on purpose. They don't want people to know the connection. Yeah. She was in D.C. for 16 years as a Biden bureaucrat. And she also was working for DOJ, Merrick Garland, and part of impeachment President Trump, that team. Yeah. And she thinks that Biden is like her hero and covered up all that the mental decline and come here to steal this open seat last year. Yeah. She did not live in district for 16 years. Right. But she came in with millions of dollars and steal this open seat.
And you let her have it. Here's the clip for anybody that didn't see it.
And hope for the best. Hope that the results will trickle down to hardworking people. I take a very different approach. I believe that the middle class deserves a tax cut. And I believe that we will do a lot for this country by ensuring that we don't continue this disastrous tax policy.
Ms. Williams. You are wealthy. You are worth $20 million to $30 million. How do you know about regular people suffering? Do you go shopping, go to Walmart, buy food? I talk to those people. And you pretend to be Render in Nashua a few months ago, moved back to run for this open seat with millions of dollars from Washington, D.C. insiders. And the millions of dollars. I don't have money to run a TV ad. And you pretend you are poor, complain rent is so high. You couldn't save that apartment for other people to rent in Nashua. Just go back to your $2 million home in Portsmouth. Please don't say that, because you do not understand regular people's concern. People cry in my arms on this issue.
That got like, I mean, how many millions of views did that clip get after that aired?
Probably internationally, 100 million views went to my native country, China, with Chinese Mandarin translation. So my family friends saw it inside of China, even though I was banned from going back to China to visit.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. It's amazing. Talk about free internet information age.
Yeah, no kidding. It is wild. And that was, now the election turned out, you got like what, 46, 47% of the vote in the general. It was kind of close. New Hampshire's one of those states that, for what I always feel like New Hampshire should be more conservative or more Republican than it is. Why is it that the Democrats keep winning in New Hampshire, do you think?
Well, they call that purple state.
Yeah.
We still have a red. We still have a red Republican control local level. We have a Republican governor, state majority by Republicans, state Senate super majority by Republicans. And so, but the federal is all blue.
Yeah.
Some people question about our, of course, we did not have a voter ID. We allowed same day registration and system, but now we have a voter ID passed last year. It should be effective now this year. And so we basically tied up some loopholes, but we also have a college students voting.
Yeah.
And I think there's a very challenging legal cases, if we try to say, hey, you cannot vote if your parents are dependents in another state. So we have still some loopholes, but I think I overperformed because that viral debate video, and Robert Kennedy endorsed me 2 days before the general election, but it was just too late. I ran out of time. I don't think I lost, but I ran out of time. If I had 3 more weeks, I could go buy a TV ad with the new donations coming just in the last couple of days.
Yeah. And so, and that's, and that's actually the good and the bad of it, because with the congressional races, it's only a 2-year term. So yes, if you get the momentum like you did, and you got some late momentum there, you can take those donations, you can roll them over. And now you've got 2 full years to run against Maggie Goodlander. And as you pointed out, all of this negative stuff coming out against her and Jake Sullivan and Joe Biden and all that kind of stuff. Are you seeing that in this second race, you're getting a lot more of a push from Trump supporters and the MAGA base? And do you feel confident, I guess, going into 2026 that you can flip the script?
Well, I'm answering my calling because I took a 2 months break after the election, see my family and traveling.
Yeah.
And I run to people all over the country, even in hotels we stay, to say, are you really Tom Williams?
Yeah.
I saw your viral debate video. It's just amazing, from strangers all over the country, even in a hotel bathtub,
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I feel like I cannot quit now because, I have a national name brand, and the New Hampshire 2nd congressional district, for more than 47% of voters voted for me. And this is traditional blue district. Now I'm going to raise more money, and I have the name recognition, and I know how to go to, the communities, how to expose Maggie Goodlander's voting records and her lying, her covered up, her husband caused the world on fire, and who knows what will happen. But the thing is, I don't care how many millions of dollars she's going to have. I'm answering my calling. I feel like I survived the communism and lived in China for 24 years in order to come here to defend my new country, the American ideals I come here for.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mentioned it earlier. I'm from Canada. You're from China. Both very tyrannical dictatorships that we escaped from. You, though, said that you are back home in China. You're a criminal. Is that right?
Well, I've been, be professional speaker, educate people about the horrors of communism in schools in 2019. They just discovered me on Facebook and attacked me. I was not running for office, but all the pro-CCP trolls come to threaten me to say, shut up, or you are wanted criminal with your husband. I had to cancel my trip to visit my family 2019. So last time I saw my family in China was 10 years ago. But that's the personal sacrifice I'm willing to make in order to speak the truth and defend our country.
That's important, because that's an important distinction. We hear a lot about China, and we hear the Democrats talk about China, and we know Joe Biden was a big fan of China because he got all those big checks from China. But you really understand the dangers of China, and Donald Trump also is in a unique position to understand what is true and what is false about China. They are our number one adversary in pretty much every respect, militarily and economically. But what is the truth about China? Are these tariffs going to work? Does Donald Trump's economic plan keep them at ease? Do they have a population crisis? What's actually going on in China that Americans should know?
Well, I think Trump is the first president I saw in the U.S. since I come here, 1988, stand up against China.
Yeah.
People have to understand that China's political system is a one-party dictatorship. The party controls everything. That means it's a totalitarian regime.
Mm-hmm.
But when the regime was focused on economic reform, doing business, ordinary people's life were better. They were benefit from the trade with them, which is fine. That was before Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping became the dictator 2012 and changed the China's constitution to allow him to serve lifetime.
Yeah.
And he's a hard-line communist. He wants to China, called the China Dream, to take over the world by the number one dominant power, militarily, economically, diplomatically, and technologically. And because, he learned from Soviet Union that if the Berlin Wall collapsed, the Communist Party is gone in Russia, they don't want that happen to, People's Republic of China.
Yeah.
And they're behind the Cuba, Venezuela, all those communist regimes. I think we need to eventually see China, the true colors. It's not just business anymore. It's not just trade war anymore. It is a soft power invasion of the United States and the West countries, so they can become dominant global power. And there are lots of propaganda and lots of misinformation out there about China, including their apps to indoctrinate our children, think China is wonderful, Communist Party is not too bad. I'm the best one to go out to provide invaluable personal stories and insight to American patriots to say, we don't want to go down that way. We cannot trust them.
Yeah.
We will engage them. We will contain them. We will negotiate, but do not trust.
Yeah.
Do not trust. And we need to separate, eventually decouple in case they go crazy and want to invade Taiwan, that we put sanctions on them.
Yeah.
But how do you sanction a country you depend on for lots of products and services? And they're here. They're in our country already.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, somebody is about a national project in my backyard in New Hampshire. The richest man in China come here, register company just last November, and in order to close this deal in Nashua, New Hampshire, on 23 acres, $67 million. People have to understand it's not about him. It's not about his company. It's not about a water business. It's about China's national security law that will mandate all the Chinese citizens and their business people overseas to comply, or they will face serious consequences.
Yeah.
So this project should be investigated and reviewed by the Committee on Foreign Direct Investment in the U.S. and by Treasury Department.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's true. Any Chinese national that comes to the United States to do business or to invest or to buy land, like you pointed out, they are still under the directives of the Chinese Communist Party. And they don't answer to our laws or anything. They answer to, like you said, Xi Jinping. And if he wants them to act a certain way when they're over here, that is a direct threat to us, which is a great point. I didn't know that but every state now, I mean, here in Florida, we've got legislation, or we're working toward it with Ron DeSantis to try to make it illegal for the Chinese to buy any more property. They've been buying up houses, but it is a huge threat, and you are uniquely situated to understand it. Unlike Maggie Goodlander, who was married to Jake Sullivan, who, let's be honest, China was one of his best friends.
Yeah,
Lily.
he went to China many times.
Oh yeah, many times. They rolled out the red carpet. Oh, I guess all the carpets there are red. But Lily Tang Williams is with us now. You had another video that I wanted to share with you where you bought a Tesla. This is one of my favorites. Here, let me just play this quickly.
Hi, I'm inside of my brand new Tesla I bought to support Elon Musk and Doge. Radical leftists are Marxist communists. They want to shut you down if you do not comply to them, if you're a threat to their corruption, their money, their special interest. I cannot access to my X this morning, the only free speech app in the whole world right now. So I'm going to go buy some more Tesla stocks and support them whenever I can. We must win as the free people.
Now you legitimately bought that Tesla. Do you still have it?
Oh, I do. That's the first day actually I got my license plate from local town. And that's the day I had a hard time to get on X to post anything.
Right.
I was in my panic mood. It's like, they're trying to hijack and hyper attack. But that's only where I feel I'm effective, even to get my messages out. I have 250,000 people follow me. And the thing is, my son owned Tesla for 5 years. He trying to persuade us to buy. I have Suburban. I love my Suburban, and my Suburban is getting old, so I was looking for old car. And they say Elon Musk, EV, all that stuff. I say it's okay, but when he was Democrat, there was no issues, and all of a sudden he become a American first. He wants to expose government corruption, and they go trying to destroy the Tesla and cars and dealerships. And it's just like all about politics. They forget about climate change. They forget about EV mandate. It's all BS, right?
Right.
It's all about the politics. So I told my husband, you know what? Get my camera. I'm going to talk about 40 seconds and just show. My husband knows. Don't get Lily mad. When she feel passionate about something, she will go out do something like that. Boom, 1 minute, 35 seconds. I got a 4 million views.
Yeah, 4 million views on that 30-second Tesla video. And that's right. It was Tesla was under attack. They were burning the dealerships. People were keying the cars. And then all of a sudden, X went down for like 8 hours. Nobody could get on it. It was all at the same time. By the way, did anyone ever key your Tesla, or did you ever get any damage or vandalism? Or are you, because here in Florida, I don't have a Tesla, but if I did, I wouldn't be too worried. In New Hampshire, though, it could go either way, right? You could get some radicals up there who would do something to it.
Well, I think the case was minimum, like a couple of cases. Yeah. But remember, we are constitutional carry state. And Tesla, people now learn, it's got a video, it's got a camera everywhere. How stupid are you to go kick Tesla? Then you get a charge, you get arrested, you get a fine. I'm just trying to warn the young people. It's like, don't believe what other media politicians feed you. Yeah. You're going to go to get charged. And don't believe them. And our kids are so miseducated in our country because they even don't understand the basic concept of respect. Private property doesn't matter which party they are,
No, it's true. And it's definitely one of those things that's deteriorating and eroding. Lily Tang Williams is running for Congress in New Hampshire. And look, it's going to be, before I get to that, let me ask you one thing about Doge, because we were talking the other day about how Doge, Elon Musk apparently made all these cuts. He found all the waste, fraud, and abuse. He took it to Congress. He took it to the president. And he said, here's where we have hundreds of billions of dollars that we could save. And Congress has not done anything with it, which a lot of people are getting a little upset with. And Elon Musk himself wrote the other day, did my best in response to somebody. So it seems like he's kind of gone back to Tesla. He's gone back to X and he stepped away from Doge. Do you feel like the Republicans need to really make these cuts permanent? Because they're not going to do it in the big, beautiful bill. They can't legally. They're not mandatory spending measures. They're discretionary. What's your take with the Doge cuts?
Well, I actually always tell people, go to their website, look at the receipts. You should be scared as American citizens because of all those money, squandered, wasted, abused, or spent on fraud or funding the places should never go. And the USAID, our American citizens would have more resources, more money, and we should be able to cut down our deficit spending and the balanced budget and pay down the national debt, all those good things. I feel like this is really the historical moment for our country. Since I come here 37 years ago, country got worse and worse. The debt got bigger and bigger. Government got more powerful, more intrusive, and almost just like censored everybody who disagreed with them during COVID years. I came out to run for Congress 2022 because I was terrified to see what the big government do to our liberties. So I hope that now we control the White House and two chambers of Congress. We have a historical opportunity and the duty to Americans to say we are going to make the DOGE cuts permanent. We're going to try to reduce deficit spending, balance budget, has a plan to balance budget, has a plan to pay down national debt. Our kids' future, our life is at stake right now. If we continue just status quo and push, the most effective person out of politics, that's just, I don't know the details yet, but I'm just so worried. This is red flag. He took so much risk and to save us money. And why are we doing the same thing over and over and over again? I have seen that story before. It's just like when Republicans took over federal government, they did not do much. And the big government continued to grow, continued to infringe our liberties and increase debt. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting because where you are, you're just trying to get a Republican in office. You're trying to get a Republican in one of your two seats, if not both of them. I know Caroline Leavitt ran there. She tried to get good conservative Republicans into those seats. You're trying to get Republicans in the Senate, even though your Republican governor doesn't want to run for Senate. It's a tough battle. Here in Florida, we've got a lot of Republicans, but one of the issues we have in my district is the Republican we have is one of those that doesn't do anything for Republicans, doesn't do anything. And it almost seems like, what's the point of having a Republican if, they're not going to do what we need them to do? So that's exciting. Now, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming election here, because you are running in 2026 and you are now you have a strong libertarian background. So you're really I imagine a fiscal hawk. I imagine that you're very much hands-off, small government, that kind of thing. What basically is the biggest issue you see with the country that you want fixed?
Well, I'm extremely fiscal conservative. I think this, growing national debt is really a big threat to our country's sovereignty. So Moody just downgraded our, from AAA to AA. And also, I've been talking to my kids. I said, I'm really worried about their future, what they can afford to buy and to live. If you grow national debt, and if you borrow print money to spend on all the pet projects, nobody wants to really cut and fund all the government agencies, the interest will go up and the mortgage rate will continue to move up. Our kids cannot afford to buy anything. And this high inflation is coming. That means everything is going to go up. How are we going to afford to live in a quality life? I have lived the American dream. I have financial freedom. I have 3 kids who were born Americans here. And then we have a district, 2 people who are already suffering every day. They tell me still everything is too high. So we need to have a benefit of a reduced inflation, economical growth, and more money into people's pocket, and also take care of the most vulnerable, like seniors and the children and the disabled and veterans. So those are the people we should focus on. But I think that if we do a new budget bill after this, reconciliation bill is over, we need to really have a very rigorous debate. And we cannot just go behind doors and make deals. I think people deserve to know how you come up with those numbers. Who drafted those bills? Congress is supposed to provide appropriation bills, right?
Yeah.
And then you submit. We should have a zero budget-based budgeting. Last time we balanced budget was under Gingrich in the 1990s under Clinton. And so now we just have CRs, omnibus bills, and we don't have a budgeting process anymore. So I'm hoping the Republicans will listen to the people who elect them to do their job and do not waste this opportunity of their lifetime. Then we get to really fix our country fundamental problems, which is big national debt. It's a threat to our future and threat, to our national security.
Do you feel that the Democrats can make a play for the House of Representatives in 2026? Because typically, yes, historically, we know that the party in power will lose the House of Representatives. That's happened 97% of the time. But their platform just seems to be non-existent, and the people that they're elevating to fame in their party are just these weirdo crackpots saying the most ridiculous things. So I'm always torn on it. I'm like, look, we should prepare for the worst, but are these people actually motivating anyone to give them even more power? Where do you think, if you win in 2026, do you think you will be entering as part of the majority, or do you think you'll be entering as part of the minority?
Well, I'm not so unsure yet, but I can tell you from my campaign trail, I talk to people who cross aisles. You know, they can be Democrat, they can be independent. So we have 40% independent voters. They tell me their concerns. And if they know the truth, Democrat voters know the truth about the corruption, about the elitist attitude and the self-dealing politicians who are supposed to claim for the working class. If they know the truth, if they change their source of news information, if they don't believe the same media, fake media, feeding them all the lies, I think that we still have a shot. And it's not traditional, like, oh, middle term. That people have realized elitist establishment from both sides are not truly represent the people they are elected to serve. I am going to run because I love the people, I love this country, and I tell people I believe in term limit, I believe in the government serve the people, and I cannot be bought, I cannot be for sale, and I'll always tell you the truth. I think those messages resonate with regular voters who are not big donors to the Democrats politicians right now, and who don't even have a chance to talk to them because they have no power, they have no connections. I grew up poor. My family in China had no power, no connections, no money. So I overcome all those obstacles and come to this country. I just have a big heart for the working class, for the regular people who have no voices. I think I'm that unique and candidate could turn the seat from a blue to red.
Yeah, and I think that if you win in 2026 and the Democrats have the majority, you'll be exactly the kind of person that's going to stick it to them every day. And if you win and the Republicans have the majority, then you're going to stick it to them too and make sure that they fulfill their promises. Lily Tang Williams running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd congressional district. Lily, where can people go if they want to help you out or learn more about you? What's your website?
So I need all the patriots in the whole country to go to lilytangwilliams.com. There's a big donate button, and to donate, I'm a grassroots candidate. I need everybody's help. $5, $10, $20. It doesn't matter. I just need like 200,000 of you to donate some money. I will go buy TV ads. I will reach everybody in my district. And if you are in my district, please sign up to volunteer. There's a big button to say volunteer. And we need the social media warriors now. And we need the people tell me what's going on in their communities. I can go say hi. I can go to markets. I can go to community events. Just show my face and have personal connections with the regular people.
Yeah, in fact, you're coming to Jacksonville. You're going to be here on the 4th of June, and you're doing an event in, I guess, St. Augustine, really. St. Augustine, and that's going to be exciting. You're going to be the speaker there, and I'll have some information as well. Lily, thanks so much. First of all, it was great meeting you, and I really enjoyed this conversation. It was fantastic. Will you come back? We got 2 years, a year and a half. Will you come back before the election?
Of course, I think I'm hoping more and more media and podcasters like you will interview me, help me get my messages out.
Absolutely.
But meanwhile, I'm just gonna move forward regardless of what. Maggie Goolander can show $1 million by the end of June, and I need everybody to go donate today. Just $5 each person by the end of June. I need to show money how much I raised.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I'm gonna go donate right now. lilytangwilliams.com. We'll have you back on, and we'll coordinate our outfits again so that we look this good next time too.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, that was she's a phenomenal person. So much fun to talk to, so lively, and of course, such great conservative values, which is what you find in immigrants, especially immigrants from communist countries. If you listen to a communist or a person who escaped communism talk about how exceptional America is, you're going to come out with a renewed sense of, well, I mean, hopefully you're going to come out with a renewed sense of hope in our capitalist society. LilyTangWilliams.com, and she is coming to, I think it's the St. Johns County REC meeting. Yeah, it's next Wednesday, June the 4th, 6:30 to 8:30, and you can go to St. John's GOP for more information if you want to find out about that. But we'll have her on more and more because, like I said, it's a long run, and we don't just have to. And what I always say is there's twofold. There's two things going on. You've got Democrats who have to be toppled. There are Democrats who are in positions that they shouldn't be in. They're not qualified. They're not there for the right reasons. We don't want the Democrats in power. Any seats that we can take and turn red, that's huge. That's what we want. We don't want the blue seats to be blue. We want them to be red, and we want to protect our majority. Then you've got all of these other Republicans who don't really do anything anyway, and we got to get rid of them. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here in Florida's 5th District. More on that coming up. Listen, a couple things happened during the interview. One thing is that Sassy Madeline dropped a $10 super chat. Sassy Madeline, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the support we get from all of our Catriots all over the globe. And if you can drop a super chat or a Rumble rant, it helps the show. It really, really does. It helps us if you watch and if you share and if you subscribe. Of course, we love all of our subscribers, and subscribing is a great way if you don't have any. Listen, I get it. Not everybody has money to spare, but if you don't, you've got some time. And just by watching the show, by telling other people about it, by helping us grow our numbers, that's also a great way to make sure that we can continue to do what it is we want to do around here. And also check out our sponsors, one of which is Colonial Metals Group, a guy named Paul Stone, who's also a great guest. And we've had him on multiple times. He's so conservative. He's so well versed in all things economic policy and the dollar and what's happening with Doge and everything else. But he's also, by trade, his job is investments, gold and silver, precious metal investments, and protecting your financial future. He put together a free gold guide, which you can get by going to freegoldguide.com/K. freegoldguide.com/KAYE. Put in your information, get your free gold guide, learn all about how to protect and grow your retirement savings with a gold IRA. How a strong defense, gold and silver can be a strong defense against de-dollarization. How simple it is to safeguard your retirement tax-free and penalty-free, and how to use the IRS loophole to protect your financial future. Unlimited time account or a limited time offer on qualifying accounts is $7,500 in free bonus silver. That's amazing. Free bonus silver sent to your home or stored in a secured vault of your choosing, plus a free safe. A $400 value right there. And it all starts just by getting your free gold guide. Go to freegoldguide.com/KAYE. freegoldguide.com/KAYE. And start learning all about how you can secure your investments and your family's future with gold. Listen, a couple of programming notes. Again, tomorrow we'll be live, and then I'm off next week. But then when I get back on Monday the 9th, at noon Eastern time, we will have a major announcement, a life-changing announcement, an earth-shattering announcement. So make sure that you've set some kind of alarm or some kind of notification for Monday, June 9th at 12 noon Eastern time. This announcement will go live on all of our social media platforms simultaneously. So you're going to want to make sure that you don't miss it. That's Monday, June the 9th at 12 noon Eastern time. As soon as I get back from my family vacation. I was going to make the announcement this week, but then I was like, you can't really make an announcement and then leave for a week because people are going to want to talk to you about it. So we're going to wait, and we're going to make the announcement immediately after I get back. And then it'll be whole hog as we run forward toward, the next step in our country's future. Another cool thing that's going on is we have revamped there was a while where we did a weekly masterclass called Dollars for Followers. And every Wednesday night, about 8 o'clock, we would get together and I would go through kind of how I do what I do, how we put together the podcast, how we put together our social media videos, how we publish our books and our merchandise, how we create a business from this. I used to just be on the radio. Now I'm not. Now I'm actually an entrepreneur. I not only have to, create the content and deliver the content and produce the content and entertain and inform, but we've also got to run a business behind it. And a lot of people were curious about that. So I created a program called Dollars for Followers. And it was once a week, 8:00 we would do a live Zoom call. And what happened was a lot of people would write to me or they'd say, hey, listen, I would love to come, but I can't come on Wednesday. Is there another day of the week that you do it? And I would always say, no, we do it on Wednesday. But what we've done now is we've just recorded the entire thing and turned it into a masterclass that you can watch anytime you want. It's all recorded. All the information is there. Everything from the masterclass. You can learn exactly how you can hear. If you go to the website, dollarsforfollowers.com, you can see some of our students who've gone through the program, some of the things that they said, some of the things that they learned. It's really incredible. We go through some of the things that you learn in the actual class itself. Oh, look, you can see Randall just registered for the class. That's amazing. And then, of course, some of the experiences I've had personally, we break it all down. So if this is something that interests you, if you're interested not just in watching podcasts and watching social media, but actually producing it for yourself and maybe using it for your own business, and you've got any kind of social media following, then go to dollarsforfollowers.com. I don't know if I have the link in the description, but I'll add it in there. Either way, you can go to dollarsforfollowers.com, and now you can watch this masterclass at any time at your convenience. It's not just at a scheduled evening that we've predetermined. dollarsforfollowers.com, and that is up now and it is ready and it's all updated too. In fact, it's longer. Fun fact, the old class was like an hour. This one's a little bit longer because, well, I do like to talk. Anyway, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to come back every single day because, as you can see, with the courts attacking President Donald Trump constantly, with the courts battling against President Donald Trump constantly, with all of these activist judges and these tyrants in the judiciary trying to usurp the powers of the presidency and the powers of the Congress, trying to shred the Constitution. I mean, really just take advantage and stop Donald Trump's agenda, which is to make America great again, to protect America from foreign invaders, to, have free trade and a strong economy, horrible things like that these judges are trying to stop. We've got to make sure that we're all on the same page. We've got to make sure that we're all still fighting together. We've got to make sure that we're all still diligent, that we know where these attacks are coming from, that we know what they're trying to do to us. And we've, of course, got to make sure that we know how to fight back. Because if we don't fight back, we're not going to win. And we're not losers, we're winners. We're going to keep winning, we're going to keep fighting, and we will all continue to save the Republic. By the way, we were supposed to have an after party today, but my son's graduating from high school, so I have to cancel the after party today. Sorry for the late notice. We will have an after party tomorrow. On Friday to make up for the canceled after party today. So if you're a Patriot Club member, tomorrow after the show, after party. That's a good time.